welcome to today's video. If you are new here, my name is Tiana. I share about all things homemaking, frugal living as we are a one-income family, as well as scratch-made food that I make for my family. In today's video, I'm going to be bringing you through a week of cooking in my home and for my family. There will be things such as dinners, which I'm going to be sharing with you tonight, as well as snacks. At the moment, I have some bread rising. It's almost there, but not quite. I won't be sharing with you everything that I'm making for my family this week, otherwise the video would be too long. But I just wanted to show you some of the things that I'm making for my family that are recipes that I think you guys might be interested in. I am learning to cook more from scratch and integrate that into our daily eating. So we don't always have homemade bread, but it's something that I'm trying to be better at. A lot of my food is wholesome, rustic, home style cooking, just like our nanas used to make. They are no fuss methods, really simple to follow, made with staple ingredients that every household has. If you follow me on my social media or you've watched previous videos, you guys will know that I am a stay-at-home mum and we are a one-income family. So a lot of my cooking is done on a budget because we have a tight budget that I like to stick to. So if you're joining me on today's video, then I hope you enjoy it, and let's get into it. We are starting off with chickpea curry. This is my favorite curry sauce to make with every curry that I make pretty much. I started off by making this with chicken, which it's like my butter chicken sauce, but then it just turned into the perfect base curry sauce, and now I make it with everything. I start by chopping up some onions, some fresh garlic and some fresh ginger, and I will fry this in some butter, and then I will add in the spices, which I like to use cumin, ground coriander and garam masala. I like to add in those spices once I've cooked down the onions, ginger and garlic first, and then once they're soft I'll add in those spices. I'll leave it to cook for a couple of minutes so it can infuse a lot of that flavour, and then I'll add in a tin of tomatoes, and I'll cook this down with a little bit of extra water because it will thicken up as it boils. And as you've seen there, I like to add the water into the tin to rinse out any of that leftover tomato juice in the tin. I'll cook these for a few minutes, and then I didn't actually show it in this clip, but I blend it with my immersion blender, add in the chickpeas, and I'll just let this simmer until we're ready to eat it. Ideally this is about 3/4 of an hour, but if you're rushed for time then 20 minutes will do as well. You want those chickpeas to be nice and soft. Moving on to the homemade sandwich loaves. I made these spreads in a recent video, and I said that there was a couple of things that I wanted to tweak, so I did that for this time around, and then I discovered there was a couple more things that I would like to change next time. So making my own bread has been a learning process, especially with the yeast. I've made it with sourdough and it's turned out really good, but I haven't made it with yeast as sandwich loaves very many times in my life, to be honest. And I think I have this problem where I don't actually enjoy yeast breads, and it's because I wasn't brought up on a whole lot of homemade bread, whereas my husband was, so he enjoys this. But it's going to be an adjustment for me. I'm going to have to learn to like it because I really want to make the switch in my home to more homemade breads. I don't mind most other breads made with yeast, it's just sandwich loaves for some reason I can't get over the strong taste. Once again, my family enjoyed them, and next time I'm going to try something a little bit different. I've been having a lot of fun experimenting with making bread at home again. Change of plans. I was going to make hummus, and then I realised I used my last can of chickpea actually going to be in this video. So now I'm going to make some cheese crackers, which I was going to make with the hummus, but I'm just going to make cheese crackers, and I think I'm going to add some rosemary from the garden because we've got tons of it in the garden. I don't have a food processor, so I'm just going to mix this by hand, I think. Not so long ago in one of my other videos I shared that I made some cheese and rosemary scones. These basically tasted like those, except they were in a cracker form and they were smaller and crunchier. I made a normal batch of these and split the dough in half, and I still have the other half of the dough in my freezer to make at a later date because this made the perfect amount for a wee snack for a couple of days with my family. I didn't want to make too much more in case the crackers went soft. Unfortunately, I still do not have a food processor, and I'm not in a big rush to get one. I would like to get one, preferably secondhand, in the very near future, because I'm finding a lot of these recipes that I've been trying lately, it would be ideal to have a food processor. So I used my trusty old NutriBullet, which did an okay job, but wasn't ideal. If I had had a food processor, I would have been able to just blend all of this in the food processor. But we did it by hand, some of it, and then I chopped up the rosemary from the garden and added this in. I think this was a really nice touch to the crackers. They were otherwise just supposed to be plain cheese ones, but I really liked the addition of the rosemary, and then I sprinkled the top of them with sea salt as well, and this was really nice. The recipe said to cook these for about 10 to 15 minutes, but that wasn't quite long enough for my oven. I cooked them for about 20 to 25 because I wanted them to be well cooked and nice and crispy, which they were. This was a really simple recipe to make, once again made with staple ingredients that most of us would have in our kitchen already. It was flour, butter, salt, a little bit of baking powder, some cheese and some rosemary, and that was it. They didn't take long to make at all. The most time consuming thing would have been rolling them out and cutting them. Otherwise they do need to sit in the fridge for half an hour until it firms up, but they weren't tricky and they were really delicious. It would not be a cooking video without making chocolate chip cookies. These are a staple in everybody's household, I'm sure. They are the most basic but most delicious cookie recipe. Now, I love a flat gooey cookie, and I've always had a problem with my cookies where they rise too much and they're quite cakey texture, and I had a moment of realization the other day that I think it's because I never put enough sugar in my cookies. I didn't think it was because I put too much baking powder in the cookies, because I never really put that much, if any, sometimes. So this time I followed what the recipe called for. Well, I put in a little bit less sugar, and I have this problem where I never put as much sugar as the recipe calls for, but I decided to this time just to see if I was actually correct about this. Thought that I had, and surely enough the cookies were nice and flat, nice and soft in the center, and exactly what I want from a chocolate chip cookie. So note to myself, when I want to make a nice sweet treat like a chocolate chip cookie, add a little bit more sugar and I will get the texture that I'm looking for. If I'm going to buy a chocolate bar as a special treat, it would probably be a Crunchy from Cadbury. I don't really buy myself chocolate bars or Cadbury chocolate in general, to be honest, because I don't find their chocolates actually that good, but I do like a Crunchy, and I think it's just because of the hokey pokey. So for the first time ever, I decided to make it myself, which I can't believe this is the first time I thought about doing this. They turned out so good, and I don't know if I would buy myself a Crunchy again because it's so easy to make at home and it tasted way better with far less ingredients. This was the first batch that I made that actually didn't turn out that well, and I think it's because I didn't dissolve the sugar properly. So what you will see is actually a different batch. You could probably tell because it's a lot less hokey pokey, and that's because I didn't want to muck it up again and waste the ingredients. So I tried it again with smaller amounts of sugar and golden syrup, and it turned out really good and it went very quickly. I know this is not the healthiest treat to have, and sometimes I confuse myself with homemade being healthy. You know what? There is nothing wrong with a little bit of hokey pokey, and we really enjoyed it, so I'll definitely make it again. Crunchy is one of my favourite Cadbury chocolate bars, so let's taste it and see how good it is. The honeycomb is pretty much exactly the same, except it's thinner, which I quite like because I think the Cadbury Crunchy bar is too thick. The chocolate tastes different because it's good quality dark chocolate. It's going to be hard to stop eating. The last thing that I wanted to make was homemade granola. I really like homemade granola with some yogurt, a little bit of maple syrup, and we have fresh strawberries in the garden at the moment, so I just thought this would be the perfect accompaniment to have with those fresh strawberries, which it was. I had some later on in the day, which I will show you, and it was really good. I made the mistake of buying the nuts and the fruit as a mix from my local supermarket, and it was really expensive, so that is a note to my future self to buy it from my local Whole Foods next time. I added some nuts, some fruit, some oats, some honey, some butter. I sprinkled this with sea salt and cooked it in my oven for roughly half an hour. And then I added chocolate chips while it was still slightly warm, so they melted but then would set as well once it had cooled down. I forget how nice granola is until I make it, and this is maybe just my experience with the granola that I brought, but I find the supermarket stuff tastes kind of stale, whereas if you eat this stuff while it's fresh enough, it is really delicious. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing some of the foods that I made for my family this week, and I will see you in the next video.